Hey
everyone, it's all about comics, and today it's me and comic fan Joe. So we don't have Undisputed Frost today. He is spending some time with his family, and Gene Polly's Peter is spending time with his family. So it's just the two of us today, but I think we got a pretty cool topic today to talk about, and got a little bit of news and yeah, so and like we always say, if you got anything to say in the or in the comments, we'd be happy to tackle your issues. But for right now, we don't really have very many people there, so let's just start with the news that we got.
Right. Okay. Got a couple of newsworthy tidbits this week. One being something a little out of the retro area. An indie publisher called Alterna Comics, Alterna, is kind of bringing something back that we don't know if it's been sorely missed or not. But get this, they're bringing back newsprint. Now, we're not bringing back newspapers. They're talking about comic, the old pulpy pages, how could you say no to that? I think it's going to be something not necessarily to look forward to, because we've actually looked or progressed, and to go back into that, well, that's been kind of untested waters. It'd be very interesting to find out what this company is going to offer. Apparently, the #1 issues are already on the shelves. According to previews, their #2 issues are going to hit store shelves in May. So we'll see what happens with that. What do you think about that, Mike?
I kind of like. I mean, newsprint is it feels nicer than the new pages. However, I worry about the sustainability of them. I find that I figure that the new pages they're kind of been created so they'll last longer. They're acid free and whatnot, whereas the newsprint was, excuse me, very pulpy, and we all know about like Marvel chipping and whatnot and what happens with that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering about the quality of their newsprint and how long it's going to last in the long run.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to take some getting used to, I'm sure. So many of us have, well, actually, some of us didn't even grow up with pulpy pages or newsprints. So to introduce this new era of comic book lovers to go and take a step back, I don't know if it's going to work. We all have to see how good the artwork is and whatnot. Because me looking back, you and I, we both grew up with newsprint, right? There
Yep,
was no other alternative. That's what we were given. There was no
had it, liked
alternative.
it.
Yeah, right. You liked it whether you liked it or not. But even at newsprint's high point, which, newsprint's high point to me was Amazing Spider-Man #300. That was its height of its the prime of its time. And to be honest, once I look back at that issue, Venom was a very cool concept. However, back in the day, we thought it translated great onto paper. I look back at it now, and it seems so lackluster compared to what's available and what technology and how comic books have progressed since then. To me, it's like, it doesn't get any better than this. Are you kidding me? They're not using the dot print system on the paper anymore. We've
Yeah,
we've we well, we've evolved to solid color. What am I trying to say? Solid colors on the pages.
it's
And
kind of funny too because when I think about it, like we're progressing to digital comics, and the new future is digital. And Comic Relief Flash said, "Why in the world would I want new comics on acid-filled newsprint? I mean, why would we be going back? Like nostalgia notwithstanding, like it just doesn't seem."
well, okay, there's an upside to this, and the upside is price. The prices on these books are being introduced at $1.99 and lower. So, but even that may not attract some people. Issue #2 is, from what I've seen on the preview booklet or the preview catalog, shows that the prices for #2 issues are $1.50. So it's definitely worth the gamble. For $1.50, I'd be willing to give it a gamble and see where it goes. Not everything is artwork. The product could be in the storyline. So maybe it might work out. We don't know, but it's definitely a gutsy move. It's we don't know if it's a step in the right direction, but it has yet to be proven.
And it could just be a gimmick. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, they could just be doing this for guys our age saying, I remember.
Okay,
So,
and you have a point though, because the general audience now that is buying comics is actually crept up a bit. It's the older audiences that are buying comics at the moment, or the majority of them are getting older. So this might be something, they might have something going on. We don't know yet. This is not something I'm saying, hey, go out and get. I'm just saying it's a little different, in some sorts. So give it a shot, see what happens, see what your local shop is talking about, and if they're willing to stock it, and see what they think about it.
I agree. So next piece of news.
What you got? You got me, or you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Got an email the other day. I think most of us did. Looks like CGC is upping their prices again, and it's. Look. We're not gonna go into great detail about this today, because I'm sure the New York Warriors have got this one as like a key button issue for them. But we're just gonna spoil it for you guys a little bit beforehand. So yeah, they've announced that they're raising the prices on certain tiers. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Certain tiers going up a couple of dollars, at the most $5. To offset that, they're promising its users or customers that the wait times are going to be reduced, and not drastically. We're talking about on some tiers by 5 days. According to them, they've hired some new people, and that has allowed them to reduce the wait times. That's generally going to satisfy most people who use their services. I don't know, man. That's upping their prices. And have they done this once before? I'm not exactly sure.
Did it. I think they did it just before they went to the new cases.
Yes.
So yeah, this is like the second price increase in a while. So it's hard too, because I mean you're killing all of Canada. I mean, I speak for every Canadian out there. I mean, it's hard enough to want to get your book slabs in Canada.
It really is.
But then you raise it a couple more bucks. Shipping goes up. Whatever. It's become prohibitively expensive to slab books in Canada, and the only way that I can afford to do it is if I do it through like my local comic shop, where I just pay for the slabbing and he pays for all the shipping to and from. But he goes on the slowest tier, right? I can't pay to upgrade, so I have to wait 900 years just to get a stupid slab book. And by the time I do that, if it's a hot book that I want to sell, well, you know what? It's not going to be hot by the time it gets back from standard shipping. So
yeah, I would say on the speculation aspect, Canadians are screwed.
Yep.
You can't speculate on a book. Now, a couple dollars to us does not mean a couple dollars to you, right, Mike?
That's right.
Your conversion rate it costs a little bit more. So explain to us what does it exactly mean to you by a couple of dollars?
Okay, so a couple of dollars. So look, we're talking. It costs about what, $25 to slab a book, a modern book on.
That was the old rates, probably. I think it's up to, was it 28 now? I'm not exactly
28.
sure.
So let's call it 30. Okay. It would basically be almost like $55 Canadian. So it's a little less than half, like half more. So
that hurts.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, for one book, $55, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and we're just talking about you going through the easiest route. Now
that's right. That's not talking fast pass. That's not talking expedited shipping or anything like that. That's talking general. That's not even talking including shipping, right? That's just for the price of getting the book done. So, and then shipping on top of that.
Okay, so I wouldn't even know what to calculate in that sense. Now I do know a friend of ours that lives in the Great White North has as paid for a slab, but he's actually had to pay for it in installments.
Yep.
Punisher 88 just revealed on the group that he finally paid off his one slab book.
Yeah,
That speaks volumes. He had to pay for it in installments.
yeah, and I don't doubt it. I mean, he had signature series done on it, right? So that's an extra what, couple of bucks there, and then if they charged him for the new product, God help us if it doesn't come back perfect for him, because like then he's got to ship it back out, and then yeah, it's not crazy.
Well, you know what? Good luck to you guys. That's all I can say. And good luck to those people who use CGC and its services. It's not intended that to inconvenience somebody, but really, to tell you the truth, this affects a lot of consumers on different levels. They might think it's only a couple of dollars more, but you really think about it. And Rage has just told me what costs $30 to ship them.
Yep.
And $66 to ship back. So thank you, Rage, on giving us that answer.
I'm in $100 for a single book before they even touch my book. So I mean, that's what it is. Like, it's no joke. It's
wow. I'm sorry. And I only have two slab books. I think in the time that I've been slabbing anything, I think I've only slabbed 5 books. Now, that doesn't make me a slabber. It makes me something that I was interested in the product, and I wanted to see what happened. Whether I use CBCS or CGC, I did a mix up and see what was best for me. But who's to say that the other grading companies won't follow? CBCS may have an advantage in this case, where they may retain their value in their pricing. What do you think? I mean, I think this might be a power move on both sides.
If I were CBCS, I would say we're dropping our prices $5, and we're going to increase our speed, and just give them a kick to the pants. So
yeah, to do that maybe as a promotion, I think would be a wise thing.
Yeah, if
they can afford to do it.
Yeah.
So that was something that was pretty interesting, just as something to break open the show. We were talking about signature series, which would probably even cost even more.
Yep. And actually,
with that said,
that's a good segue to our topic today, the signature series. We're talking about autographs today on today's show. Getting your books autographed. I know that the Warriors were in East Coast East Coast Comic-Con this weekend. They were posting a bunch of pictures. And so getting the autographs and whatnot, and some people like getting autographs. Some people are not too crazy about it. Do you get them on the front? Do you get them on the inside? Tell us about your autographing experience, comic fan.
Okay, well, I've got quite a few. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's great. This actually starts me off on a high point. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to get some autographs done by Stan Lee. It's purely a high point in my life. Although you know what, I got to tell you, I'm kind of on the negative stance of signatures and autographs and things like that. I'm not a big fan of them. However, you throw the right person into that mix, and I'll say gladly, yes, sign on my highly valued book here, and degrade it. I got to tell you, my stance on signatures is a little different. As far as depending on who's writing on my book, I could consider it either vandalism, even though they did play a part in the book. They could play a part in vandalizing my book, or it could be a beautiful piece of art if done correctly. Mm-hmm. Now, those two are two very big extremes, but that's just the way I feel, and I'll explain to you in just a second. So, getting back to me meeting Stan Lee. Stan Lee wasn't so much a meetup. It was more like a one and done, sign your book, on to the next person. It wasn't a meet and greet. It was a purely sign the book, on to the next person. Now, this is where I kind of feel towards the side of vandalism, okay? I know we're talking about Stan Lee here, but as he's progressed with age, his signature has gotten really broad, he uses, I don't know if he uses like a Marks-a-Lot pen or marker or something, but he seems to have a very broad stroke with his penmanship.
Mhm.
And it could be a Sharpie. I don't know what he uses, but I'll get to you this in just a second. As an example, this was like in the middle of the day, okay? Now, does that say Stanley? I don't know. I know he did it. I saw him do it. But it's a very unique piece. I always wanted to have something unique to see him do that. But like I said, this was like towards the middle of the day. And I would assume that in the beginning of his day, his signature was a little bit neater.
Yeah.
I had another one done, although it's not a very good example. This is one I actually had slabbed, and you can barely see the signature right there.
Yeah.
I had this graded signature series. It's not a perfect grade, 4.0. It's fine grade for me. And I didn't opt for the signature label. However, I got this done really quick, and it got a great return because my buddy took it with him to get it on-site graded. So, although I would think that his signature is vandalism, this is a guy that has a ton of weight in his signature. So that kind of balances out. You know, it's like, here's a guy who did great things, he's got a crummy signature, but you take with it, you take with it the stuff that he's done for comic books, and that outweighs it. And that's just my first example. So,
Yep.
Mike, I'll let you go on to the next example that you've got and how you feel on your stance, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on this.
All right. So, for me, I love signatures. I've been kind of an autograph hound for a long time. Not just for comics, but sports and stuff as well. Like, I like getting my hockey cards signed, or once in a while if I go to a Jays game or whatever, getting a baseball card signed. I've always liked that. I whenever I go to a con, I always bring books to get signed, and in general, I'm happy with it. Some of them, I've got this one right here. This is Ant-Man #1, and this is signed by Mark Brooks. Now you can't really see it. I was probably a bad one to get autographed because it's not really, there's nowhere for him to sign. And Merc with the Mouth brought up a good point that said, let me just scroll back up a second here. He said that it depends on the cover if you have dead space to get it signed there. And I think he's absolutely right, because when I look at this one now here, it's hard to see. And then when I look at it, I don't know that this says Mark Brooks at all. Like he does not have a nice nothing, like not a nice signature at all, which is weird because like you look at his art and you figure, a signature would be a big part of his thing, but no, it's not. Then you have guys like independent books. This is a Canadian independent comic called The Pitiful Human Lizard. It's a creator done. So it's done. Jason Liu is the writer and artist on the book, and I got him to sign it right up there. Nice blank space, and I like it because it's his book. Everything he did on that book was his. He was the writer, he was the artist. So I like having that. And then of course you look at that definitely says Jason Liu. You know what you're getting there.
It's a no frill signature.
It's a no frill signature.
He goes, hey, what do you want from me, huh? Come on, I did a book. Come on. I'm not the letterer.
I've got two more examples of like con signatures, and then I'll go back to you. This one here is by one of my favorites, Kari Andrews, and he tends to do the sign up the side, and it's in a good spot there. Kari Andrews. And then I got another example of one that he did, and this is why I like it, because not only did he sign up the side, but he also threw in a quick remark on the other side. So a little bit of art, and I thought anytime an artist is willing to do that for you, I love it. I think it's great.
Okay, and I would imagine while he's doing the sketch, you get to carry a conversation with the guy,
Exactly.
right? You get acquainted with them. You get that initial reaction, and the initial reaction, I think this is part of the whole experience with signatures. At that point, you either get to meet your hero and can come back with a great story, or some things I also hear so often, find out he's a complete douche. And you come back to all your buddies like, nah, you can't have his book signed by him. He's a douche. You know, that's when
There's
you
a certain donut story going out around about a certain someone.
No, I've had that situation, and I wouldn't talk bad about any artist. Maybe they came in, had a bad morning, bad experience along the way, and he's going to vent it out on you.
Yep.
I'm not going to throw any names out. I'm just saying I've had those experiences. I've had good and bad experiences with signatures that have kind of made me decide whether or not I want a signature done by a certain person. Okay.
Well, and another thing, I don't mind throwing out names. I've heard bad things about Neil Adams.
Yeah.
You know, and people, what's that?
Like what?
Well, I think everyone's heard the donut story, Manny's famous donut story.
I've heard it.
What's that?
I've heard it. I just didn't know if you had a personal story yourself.
Well, no. So when I met him, I thought he was a class act. You know, did I pay a lot for his signature? Yeah, but you know what? I knew what I was getting into when I. It's not like it was a shock to me to know that, hey, he's asking for money for his signature. You know, like had I gone up there and been like, you want what for your signature? Then yeah, I would have been crazy. But I knew what I was getting into when I was getting his signature. He was nice. We chatted for a little bit. He showed me some artwork that he was working on, and then that was that. I've heard bad things about Rob Liefeld. You know, Rob Liefeld this and Rob Liefeld that. Can't draw feet. He, you know, but then you hear that like he you know, charges extra if you want your Deadpool or New Mutants 98 signed and whatnot. But you know what? Again, to me, that's the cost of getting the autograph. You know, some people won't charge. George Perez will sign anything for free. You know, and that's great. But then I've heard people say they've talked to Rob Liefeld, and he'll sit and talk your ear off if you let him. You know, like I think it's just one of those balance things. Like you're absolutely right. They're at a con where a bunch of fat and nerdy people that live in their mother's basements go all day. They cough in their hand. And they're like, Mr. Liefeld, can you sign my book? You know, so of course they're gonna have bad days. You know, like they're doing the stuff, and you know they're I guarantee you they're sick of the same story. So how'd you come up with Deadpool? Have you drawn any feet lately? You know, and you hear it, and by the middle of the day you're probably like, fuck this next guy that comes. You know, and it just happens to be you. Comically Flawed asks, what's the donut story? I don't know.
Manny tells it in such a way that makes it so good. I would actually have to say, go ask him, and he'll tell you like nobody else can.
Comically Flawed, go watch the Warriors tomorrow. I think they got a show tomorrow. If they don't have the show tomorrow, it's the next Monday after that. But ask them about the Neil Adams story. Ask if Manny will tell it, because it's a funny as hell story, and it's not really worth us telling the story.
Yeah, Manny has he has a certain way about him that only he can say it. But anyway, check in the chat really quick if you don't mind, Mike. Merc with a Mouth has brought up something really great, and I've wanted to ask him about this. He said the douche of the cover artist has to be Arthur Sudan.
Yes.
Now, he does great work, man. His Marvel zombie covers were great, man. It's some of the best stuff that I've seen, and I really admire it. And it's something that I would really like to hear from Merc of Mouth in the chat to see if he can tell me why he is the douche.
So I've heard a lot of bad con experiences with. In fact, a friend of mine is a artist that goes to cons, and he was unfortunate enough to be beside Arthur Sudan. And when I say unfortunate, because when he set up his table, he took over 3/4 of the table that he paid for, because when he goes there, he doesn't go as just as an artist. He goes as a vendor, and he has like prints and everything, and he just took over all the space. and people were complaining. They were saying, look what you're doing, and you're being a dick. And he wouldn't say sorry about it, whatever. But then I've heard him with fans and whatnot, and like people have said, oh, he's perfectly fine. So I think in one respect to his peers, he can be a real dick, but to the people paying him the money, he'll smile and kiss your baby like a normal politician kind of guy, right? I don't know, Merc. Do you have an example? No, we're both gonna wait.
While we're waiting for him, if he's willing to give a response, do you want to give a nods up to who's in the chat today?
All right. Well, looking, we got Merc with the Mouth, Comically Flawed, Rage Comics. We have Bruzeus. We have GDJ Rod. I saw earlier Roger 69501, and I think that's all we've got there. Small crowd today, but that's all right.
That is a fine group of people there.
Exactly. I wouldn't ask for anyone else. Here we go.
Yes.
He says he forces cover art on you and tries to make you buy his shit. And if you don't know his art, he gets upset. Yeah, and you know what? I've heard that too. But then again, maybe if you don't know his no, you know what? That's unacceptable. I think even if you don't know his art and say you want to go up and you want to buy a print or something like that, he starts yelling at you for not knowing his work. That's a douche.
I would have to say that does qualify as douche. Yeah, it's douchey. Wow. Well, you know what? I'm sure he's not the only, but I'm sure there's also a whole separate set of artists, writers, letters, however you want to name them, whoever's giving that signature, that will give you a positive experience.
Yeah.
You know what? We also wanted to find out, while we're talking about signatures, if you guys have ever found a signature in the wild. You come across the quarter, dollar bins, whatever, and you open up a page, or even on the cover, if you guys ever found a signature in the wild, it's something that's always a great thing to find. I have been able to find once before, but before we go on to that, if you want to share your experience, Mike. Hey.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think I've been the luckiest finding signatures in the wild. I got a couple of examples here. Number one is my Captain America 113. I took it out to inspect it, and what do I find on the front page right there? One of the most beautiful signatures in all of comics, Jim Steranko. And that's just a privilege. Comic View Flight. I feel his art should be easy to spot. Just look for the crappy feet and noses. So anyways, this Steranko, I was so pleasantly surprised because he's never been our way. He's always at New York shows and whatnot, but he's never come out to Canada, to the best of my knowledge, at least while I've been going. So I was really happy to find that one. The next one was my Uncanny X-Men number 115, and this one here, I open it up, and I got Terry Austin and John Byrne on the inside.
What?
And yeah, John Byrne. I was so happy to find that because, like, John Byrne, he's a kind of a recluse man. Yeah, I don't see him a lot at con, or I don't think I've ever heard of him being at a con. You were just saying that you heard he was at a con last week in California, but
recently.
Yeah, but I've never seen him out and about. So to find this inside the book was just a treat. And my last one, and I'll only show one from it, is my Spectacular Spider-Man. Well, I bought in a package deal my Kraven's Last Hunt. I bought all 6 books, and because I had never read the story, and I think it was, trying to remember, maybe it was Howler Mouse. They did a comic review. Like, one guy would do one book. I know Tim Morant did one, Howler Mouse did one, and they each took a Spider-Man book and talked about the Kraven's Last Hunt. So I went out and for $20 I bought all 6 things, and inside each but the last was another beautiful signature, Michael Zeck. You know, and so like I just lucky. It's just the last one. So if I ever go to a con and Mike Zeck is there, I'm gonna get him to sign that last book on the inside, just like the other ones, and tell him the story. And you know, just really happy. It doesn't cost you anything extra when you're at a comic book store and you get that thing. Sometimes I worry, like, is it legit? But I've seen enough Mike Zeck signatures to know that this looks pretty legit. I've seen enough John Byrne signatures to know that looks legit. Steranko, like, you know what a Steranko looks like.
Yeah.
You know, if I saw my book signed with by Adam Hughes, I'd be a little suspect. His is just an AH, and I think
Seems
anybody
simple
can
enough,
do that.
right?
Yeah.
AH. Okay, so this opens up a couple of questions that I have for you, though.
Sure.
Do you prefer signatures on the inside or outside? Because it seems like you're getting a little bit of both.
Yeah. I really don't have a big preference one way or the other. If they have a nice signature, like Todd McFarlane, I don't think I'd get Todd McFarlane to sign on the inside of a book, just because like his signature is so nice and stylized. Yeah, Merc with the most says Kirby has the sexiest signature ever, and yeah, I have to agree with that. Like if I ever opened up a book, and I if I ever opened up a book and it saw Kirby there, I would just cry. I'd almost be tempted to get that book slabbed by CBCS just to verify it, and then take it out of the slab and keep the verification slip with it. You know what I mean?
You know, and where did you find these books? I mean, is this something you found in the price bins, dollar bins?
This one here, the Spider-Man's. I was at my local comic shop, and he had a big stack of books in like packaged as one. So he had like the Secret Wars 2, all 10 issues or whatever it was, 8 issues in one, you could buy for $20. Kraven's Last Hunt he had there. I picked it up and I bought it and just happened to be lucky.
Wow.
The Uncanny X-Men. This one I bought off of a guy off of Kijiji, or you know, Craigslist. Same idea. And I don't know if he knew what he had in there or not, but I just got really lucky. The Steranko, when I went to the store and we opened it up because I wanted to take a look at this one, we saw it and he knew about it. He said, "You're gonna want to see this." And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god!" So he knew. I don't think that the price was increased any more for it. I paid a fair price on it, so I was pretty happy about it. Yeah, so I find them every couple, like every little way, you know. Like I have Art Germ, his signature on a couple of Birds of Prey books that I bought in a stack, and I didn't even know it was Art Germ because he signs with himself Stanley Lau.
Right.
So I always known him as Art Germ. And looking at some of the comments here, and we'll get to you. We said so. Kirby has a second signature. Most of the signatures I've found in the wild at the shop, I can't even tell who they are. That's comically flawed. King of the Golden State, who just entered, says Mike Zeck indeed does have a nice signature. So, some first time 4-way, and I agree on something. Well, now I changed my mind. Mike Zeck. Eddie the Comic Guy, he says, I've had that happen to me too. And then Comically Flash says, I wonder how they red label an Adam Hughes if it isn't witnessed. And it's absolutely true. I mean, that to me, that's actually him and Ty Templeton. Ty Templeton, I'll show you my signature for him. This was a sketch that he did for me, but his signature is just Ty, T-Y. And
it's cute.
Here we go. Eddie the Comic Guy says, I want my X-Men Connecting cover signed by Lee and Williams. King of the Golden State says Scott Williams has an incredible signature. I haven't seen it, but I think he may be right. I think Bernie Wrightson had a nice signature. Our good friend Gene Paul Ace Peter has jumped in the chat and said best signature Mike Grell, worst Jim Starlin, most adorable Mike Murphy, or sorry, not Mike Murphy. That's what's his face?
Murphinator.
Murphy Anderson. He would always print. King of the Golden State says who has a shitty signature. Merc with a Mouth says Liefeld has one of the worst next to Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to me, I think Adam Hughes is like that's just absolutely lazy.
It's a cop out.
It's a cop out, man. I mean,
but only one that he can get away with, though. I'm sure.
Yeah, he's probably just about the only one.
Yeah,
okay. I like people that craft a nice signature. You know, Kerry Andrews. I shown a couple more of his earlier, but you know, his is a nice stylish signature. My buddy Mike Ruth that does comics, I like his too. It's, you know, there we go. It's nice and clean. It's printed, but it's full of style. You know, like I like that.
Okay, so you know what? I would imagine that whoever's an artist would take time to perfect their signature.
Exactly.
You know, within due time, if they make it to the big time, you're going to be signing some books. So you know, I would only expect for somebody who has great artwork or great work comes with a nice signature. You know, it's like you're an artist, right? You would think that your penmanship would follow alongside that. But I will tell you, and you and I were just talking about this right before the show started. It's like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer the artist signature or the writer signature? And that's where my experience comes in. Although I was a little taken back to get this in a dollar bin. It comes with a grain of salt because it's not the artist signature. I was cruising through the dollar bins, and I get this really great copy of Man-Thing #3. Although it is okay, first appearance of Fool Killer, big wow, okay, yeah. But inside it, on the inside page, which is what we old schoolers used to do, writer signature of Steve Gerber. And it's a nice little thing for $1. You know, I don't mind it so much. There's a little bit of some smudge there. Maybe somebody stepped on it before I got it. But you know what? It doesn't hurt so bad, although it is a writer's signature. And we both agreed that we would rather have the artist's signature rather than the writer. It's just a personal preference.
That being said, though, that X-Men book that I have with the John Byrne and the Terry Austin, I am hunting Chris Claremont down like a fiend now just to get that trio done, because that'll be such a cool one to have. And again, he'll sign it on the inside. I'll make sure I have a big pen for him or whatever, you know. And so I'll be looking for that. I had one done by Sterling Gates, and I was telling you this before the show. He was writing Supergirl, and I had the blank Supergirl cover for him to sign, and I was hoping that he would do something witty, like, you know, like draw a stick figure Superman girl or whatever, or just write me a small paragraph or something, you know, even in word letter, like a word bubble. I was, after he signed it, I was like, oh, I wish he'd done, you know, something like that. Like, but he just said, well, I'm going to sign it on the bottom, and I'm going to get you to get someone to do a really nice Supergirl on there, and so you know, I agreed with them, but so now I got to get that Supergirl drawn on.
That's such a bad idea when hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Old King of the Golden State. It's kind of burst your bubble there, Mike. You want to read that?
It says Claremont only signs on the logo. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be the exception to the only. Because once he says, you know what? I bet you that if I showed him Byrne and Austin on the one page, he would say, "Okay, I'll sign on the inside for you." Whatever. I'm sure that he would break his only, and if he wanted to sign on the logo, I'd sign it on the logo too. But
it's not the trifecta, though. It's not the trifecta you want.
Yeah, it's not the trifecta I want. I want it on the inside.
Wow. Okay. But here's something that might be a little different, an alternative to what I might actually find, not an exception to the rule, but something that's kind of different as far as signatures go. And I'm seeing more and more of this. It's basically, what do we call these? Sketchbooks. Sketchbooks is our great alternative to having a signature done. And if you don't want it, have it done on one of your personal books in your collection. These are a fine option. They don't cost a whole lot. Most charge what, 15, maybe 10, maybe even $5, depending on the artist, on who it is. They make up a sketchbook. You get a sample of their work. You get hopefully a great conversation with the artist, and at the same time, and it's this case, in case you haven't read it already, this is Terry and
Rachel.
Thank you, Terry and Rachel Dodson. I got to talk to both of them at a con a couple years ago, and I didn't have a Dodson book on me. The con was raising up prices on Dodson books like crazy. So by the time I really thought about it, this was the smart way to go.
Yep.
As opposed to blank covers. Okay, now blank covers might also be a great reason to get like a sketch or a signature on it. But while I'm having a conversation with him, he's talking it up, chatting me up. I'm fanboying out, and he draws this little sketch for me right next to his own work here in the sketchbook, and personalizes it to me. Huh.
Nice.
Not a bad thing when you consider the alternative. Someone like me who is not into signatures on books. So like I said, you get really nice examples of stuff like this, or maybe even a print. This was just one of the options that I was left with when I don't have a comic book on me. I don't have a blank cover. And I wish more people would do this along with prints and stuff. So
yeah,
it was a good experience.
They tend to sell out pretty fast though too.
Yeah.
So question for you. Have you ever purchased a book for an autograph or like bought specifically the autograph?
The autograph
at cons and whatnot, they'll have like, you can send away, like, you can't make this con, send us your piece of memorabilia, we'll get it signed for you.
I've never thought that far ahead on a signature. Really, most of the time, a signature is a just a spur of the moment kind of thing for me, because I don't think ahead. I don't check the convention, see who's there. I kind of do, but I don't think ahead, which is a smart thing. Plan ahead, people. When you're getting an autograph or want an autograph from a certain person, you guys, this is common sense to you guys. To me, it takes some planning to take something, implant something into my head. That's just the way I am. I'm weird that way, to where I have to think ahead and pack stuff into my little storefolio and say, okay, I'm ready. And it just takes me some extra planning. So no, I've never really actually done that.
Yeah, I can't say that I have, but for my 40th birthday, which was a year and some more ago, my family got together and they got me my Stan Lee, and so it's got the certificate of authenticity, So I do have my own Stan Lee. I didn't wait in the crazy ass lineup that he has, but I do have it, and I appreciate that. Like it was something that it means a lot to me that I have a signature from him, but at the same time, it's kind of like I got to bypass all that crappy having to wait. I don't have to worry about am I getting it slabbed or whatever. I know what it is. I recognize the signature enough to know that that's his. The expo, fan expo, they're reputable enough that I believe that it is what they say it is. So.
Well, that is actually something I wanted to segue into ourselves, still remaining on signatures. How do we all feel in the chat? How do you feel, Mike, with something that I just showed right now? Signatures. Do we get them signature series? We pay the extra money. We know it's authenticated as far as slabs go. Or a less expensive option, the old certificate of authenticity. They both, they cost a little extra. This one costs a little bit extra. The slab, not so much. It costs a whole lot more. Which route do you go? Being a collector in each sense, I went each route on something that is not so collectible, still has a great, it still has a signature, not a really big key book, but an awesome cover that I thought I would enjoy for years to come. And then going and splurging and get something, authenticated signature series. Which way do you go?
Yeah, well, I think we know how we go in Canada.
Yeah.
I know that there are people that do signature series in Canada. It helps when there are representatives in CGC at the show. Last year, the CBCS was at Fan Expo, so you were able to go there. I don't particularly like the yellow labels myself. Yellow's not really my color, but I like what CGC has been doing with the like the kind of personalized labels, the Stan Lee label. I like that, and if it was a Stan Lee label, then I'd be happy with it. They have the Walking Dead ones. I would get a Kirkman signature with if it had the Walking Dead label on it. So as far as it getting it certified by CGC, again, my whole thing is if you're gonna turn around and sell it, then yeah. The only one that I like is the CBCS because they have the verification. So if I came across a Kirby, I would probably send it in to get verified. As soon as it comes back with their label, what I can't remember what the verification color is. It's not red, is it? It's the anyways, it doesn't matter what color it is. But as soon as it came back, crack it open, keep the little certificate as a bookmark or whatever, keep it in the package, and then that way I know it's a verified signature.
Okay, I get it. But yeah, to elaborate on the signature series, just for a really quick moment, I do agree. I do like the new label series that they're coming out with Stan Lee. I believe it's drawn by Todd McFarlane or J. Scott Campbell, and also they're rolling out a new Walking Dead label, which seems pretty nice. Multiple Walking Dead labels.
Yep.
I would only hope they continue to do that with their new price increase. You'd think it would go the extra mile for the customer and
they also had
make it more personable.
They also had a Ninja Turtles one for Eastman and Laird a while back. Yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but I know that they definitely did have it before.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's something that would be worth your dollar or Canadian dollar, depending on how it's looked at. Not necessarily. I know it's still a hit to the system.
Yeah.
Raising prices. I don't know, man. I'm sorry. I know what it means to be distracted by the chat now because I just got distracted by the chat.
Yeah.
Damn you, King of the Golden State. You got me. He said, "F these labels."
Yeah. And, it's maybe F those labels, but at the same time, FCGC. I mean, it's just too much work. I'm happy. I'm happy with this. It's the same protection. One of these protectors. It's in the Mylar. Well, this one's not in Mylar, but it's all sealed. It's got the certificate in there. That's good enough for me. I don't need a fancy vacuum formed, hermetically sealed hyperbaric chamber for my comic books. I like to read them, and that's
okay. Yeah. I get it.
Merp says he'd like an invisible label. That would be nice. I think that if you specify, like, it doesn't matter what it is. If I pull out a Call the Conqueror book. They should make a Call the Conqueror label for me. You know, like they should just do that as a service for an extra $7 or $8. You know, we'll put whatever the hell you want on there. You know, and you know they choose the art, whatever, and then they'll just have like a library of them, and if somebody wants it, they'll add it for you. I don't think it should be a hassle to do it.
So kind of like a clip art kind of thing.
Yeah, without being like clip art, but you know.
You know, so I see where you're going with this, because while I was getting the signatures done for Stan Lee, I was actually working this signing, and I had a lot of people coming up with me with this, you know, the latest books, this week's books that just rolled out the shelf, because the signing was done at a new opening of a comic book store here in around my area. So there's guys, you know, taking stuff off the rack, getting it signed because of the spur of the moment thing. They're in the moment and they get something signed that, well, of course, wasn't done by Stan Lee because it was a current book.
Right.
So guys are coming up to me and saying, "Yo, what do I do? You know, what do you suggest?" And me, you know, I have to pitch the product, but at the same time, the collector comes out at me and saying, "Listen, buddy, this is a book with Stan Lee's picture on it. He had nothing to do with it other than his likeliness on the cover," and I have to tell him. At the end of it all, I didn't pitch him on the product. And I said, "Listen, buddy, for $20, you can have a certificate of authenticity just to commemorate the day that you were here, you took part in this." You know, it made me feel at ease, you know, that I can go and give my honest recommendation and not have to always pitch the product, because I know this guy was like, it's a one-time thing. He's happy to see this guy meet a childhood hero of his and not feel pressured to buy into a product that he may not be able to afford financially for whatever reason, or just enjoy his book. You know?
Exactly. That's the thing with my Stan Lee signature. I know it has nothing to do with Stan other than someone drew Stan on it. But you know what? The fact that he's on there, like if it was just a Spider-Man with just this, then I wouldn't be as happy. But the fact that it has this, you know, it's like getting him to sign an actual picture. You know, to me, he helped to create Spider-Man. So you know, I know in the long run that's good for me. You know, he came back to the con last year, and I was like, do I get something old signed by him? Like, do I get something that he actually worked on? And I was backing and forth, and I just, to me, I mean, that's maybe 2 hours waiting in a line, $120, you know. So to me, the cost time ratio just wasn't worth it enough. So
okay, well, you know what? We're getting close to the ending of our show. About 5 minutes left.
yes.
I don't know if there was anything else added to the chat, if we wanted to round that up there.
Nothing really. We had another couple of new people come in. So King of the Golden State was in there. Rebel Comics jumped in. Ray Jr. Jumped in. So, you know, had a bunch of great people join us today for our little chat. And yeah, so I guess before we go, we do have a little bit of news about All About Comics. King of the Golden State just wrote, "Can I get a blank check signed by Stan Lee? I just want to check it for authenticity." Yeah, that's right. So I want Bill Gates's signature on a check. But
that's awesome. I like that.
So we are going to be, I guess, ending our season next episode. Next episode will be the last episode of All About Comics. We're gonna pick it back up in September. We've been having we've been doing this is episode 18 here, and we've been doing it for a while, and we like to have good topics, and we were almost afraid that this topic would be a throwaway topic, and wouldn't exactly fill an hour, but we're lucky it did. And I think it was a great topic, but we just gotta recharge the batteries a little bit, and I have a ton of fun doing the show, and I know you do as well. And I think I can speak for Frost and Gene Polly's Peter that they love doing the show as well, and I'm sure that they're going to be eager to come back. But so yeah, we're gonna end it next week with a big show. We got one. We think you guys are gonna be impressed by it.
Oh, I saw what you did there.
You saw what I did there.
Yeah, this was something we actually had little plans. Although it wasn't finalized, we all agreed that, well, maybe we should do this in seasons, put a little a time to recharge and, allow other people to come up with some subject matter. I noticed that Lords of the Long Box are coming back around, and it doesn't seem like a bad idea to do things in seasons, that way we get to recharge our batteries. During the summer, we get to spend some time with our families. It doesn't mean that we all don't get together and chat every once in a while, guys. We all, we can all put up hangouts whenever we like. This was just, a show suggestion that maybe this might work, to take a little bit of time off and come up with a whole new fresh season, and maybe even line up some talent in the next coming season that, we can plan for stuff, and we can plan for certain topics and line stuff up that way. And I think it might actually work.
And the Facebook page is still going to be there. We're all gonna be doing that. Yeah, Rage Comics is coming with All About Comics, The Awakening, All About Comics, The Prophecy, All About Comics, The Beginning.
So, with that said, do you have any closing statements? I have a couple, but if you have any, go right.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I hope we've name dropped everyone that was in the chat there. Any season finale preview, guys? I think we just gave you the one, and if you missed it, you go back, watch it again. Thumbs up our channel. Yeah, and so I think we're getting a couple of good nods. It's a good idea to take a break. Every week gets old. You're right. And it's hard because we want to bring you good topics, and we're doing this just as much for us as we are for you, and I think we just need the recharge. Mm-hmm. And so I want to thank you guys for coming out. Thank you, Joe, for hanging out with me and chatting for an hour.
Sure.
Are we going to throw up a live chat afterwards? Do you want to?
Well, the wife's not knocking on my door yet, so why not?
All right. So if anybody wants to jump on, we'll throw the chat in the comments after there.
Just one thing before we go, and I know, man, I swear it's like this guy must be bribing us with money, because we spread his name around like crazy. King of the Golden State hit lucky number over 300 subscribers. Like, damn, he better pay me after this. Yeah. I'm not doing this for free anymore. He has a 300 subscriber contest. Guys, it's an easy contest. It's a great one, and you're gonna have some fun with it. Hit up his channel, support the guy, because I know I will, and I hardly ever do subscribers.
I did my video for it last night. I just got to edit it, and he's got some great prizes too. I mean, we don't just support him for the prizes, but my God, like, he's got a first, second, and third place. They're all first place in my book. Yeah. And King of the Golden State, you're first place in my book, no matter what I say.
In our hearts. But seriously, pay up, buddy.
Yep. Checks in the mail.
Okay, guys, that about rounds up our show, right, Mike? It's a good hour.
I think so. It's been a good hour.
Okay. So with all that said and done, guys, tune in next week with lots of good stuff, and we shall see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.